Welcome to the Longevity Caucus once again. My name is Ahmed Dankwa, and on today's episode, I would like to ask another question again. I know I like asking questions. What are the links between aging and the disease? I know from a lot of us might have seen that a lot of old people get to the hospitals or usually complains, about so many different things, right? And I think a lot of us would start thinking that aging is actually a disease. Or is a disease actually aging? Well, let's find out. And like I always do, I always like to use the story approach. So let me just read this. 30 years ago, Mr. Ibrahim was a legend in his community. He never missed a day of hard work, and people marveled at his strength. He did not need any medications. His body was his medicine. This determines how strong Mr. Ibrahim was in his youthful days. Fast forward to today, at 65, Mr. Ibrahim sat in a doctor's office, his heart heavy with worry. You have hypertension, the doctor said. Just like that. Mr. Ibrahim frowned. Yes, of course I would too. Wasn't he the same man who carried sacks of grain on his back with ease some years ago? How could this happen to someone like him? Confused and a little scared, he called his son, a college student. Do you think this is because I'm old now? Or did the doctor make a mistake? A one-time champion who needed not any medications has now been diagnosed of hypertension. Well, first, let's clear this once and for all. Aging, it's not equal to diseases. Let me repeat that again. Aging, it's not equal to diseases. So aging itself is not a disease. Aging is a natural process, that involves gradual changes in our bodies. And as we age, our cells, tissues, and then system become less resilient. And in our previous video, we mentioned about some of the biological, changes that occurs in our body that our eyes, cannot see. And during our youthful changes, during our childhood and then most part into our youth, when these cells break down, right, they are able to regenerate and then repair. So it means that previously when you could get a cold and your immune system would just get rid of it, or you get injured, you do not take any medications and then it heals on its own. However, with these things that goes on in our system that we cannot see, as we age, these things becomes less resilient. And what I mean by less resilient, it means that they get tired sometimes along the way. I did not say they die, but I mean literally they just get tired. And once this happens, right, it pre-exposes us to diseases. Let me repeat that. Once this happens, it pre-exposes us to various forms of diseases. So that is, the actual difference, right? It doesn't mean that aging is a disease. No. That is a total no. Aging is not a disease. So, one of the things that comes with aging is that, once these things becomes a bit less resilient, like our tissues or our blood vessels, it starts to get narrower. So, you are in your 20s or your mid-stage ages, and then, you have a blood vessel like this. Once you age, because these cells becomes, they lose their power to be elastic, so sometimes, because they get narrower, as we age. And this is just not limited to your blood vessels. This is actually happens all over your body, right? For most parts of it. And so when this happens, it means that the vessels in your heart usually could get a bit narrower. And so this kind of, let's use hypertension for example. This pre-exposes you to hypertension and then other forms of heart disease. I am not saying that this is the only cause of hypertension, because I know, yes, even kids could be diagnosed of hypertension, right? So the main takeaway from this is that aging, it's not a disease. They are two different concepts. They are two different concepts. And the next time you see your grandma complaining of knee pain or having to take medications, do not say, or please abstain from saying that they have a disease, or it's just because they are aging, that is why they have the disease. No, because there are kids who have hypertension, there are kids who have diabetes, and there are kids who have other forms of chronic illnesses that older people also have. So the other thing is that the role of inflammation and then wear and tear, as I explained earlier on, some of these things are things that we cannot see but happens through our body. And so think of your body like a machine that's been running for decades, and over time, wear and tear, like inflammation and oxidative stress, can accumulate. And once this accumulation occurs, this wear can make diseases more likely, but it's not guaranteed. So it just makes it more likely, but it's not guaranteed that this is equal to this, right? And but then, however, the biggest thing is that with the right lifestyles, we can slow this process. So at this time, science have not been able to reverse aging yet, but we can slow the process. And with regards to Mr. Ibrahim's story, what it teaches us actually is that is Mr. Ibrahim hypertensive because he's 65, right? So aging actually doesn't cause disease, but it increases the vulnerability. However, knowledge is power. And so understanding this connection helps us to focus, on prevention, like monitoring of blood pressure, eating well, and then staying active. Yes, I know it's been a long time since you even checked your blood pressure. I know. And this shouldn't be, or the blood pressure, your glucose level, or monitor any other things in your system, any of the vital organs in your system, which is bad. So the main takeaway here is that aging does not equal disease, but the two are actually connected. So Mr. Ibrahim's story, actually shows us or understand the link between aging and the diseases. Well done. So now that you know the difference between what diseases are and then its relation to aging, at this age, you have to start thinking or preparing for that stage, right? You have to start preparing. And depending on where you are, depending on your life expectancy, which I would explain more in a different other video, in places like Ghana, for instance, the average life expectancy is approximately 63 years. And it means that the average Ghanaian is expected to live up to 63 years. And so now you are in your 40s, right? Or maybe in your 20s. It means that you could just use that to gauge the number of years you are likely to live up to. It might be less, it might be more, right? If you are in other parts of the world, like the US, with life expectancy is higher than in Ghana and other African countries. Now, there are several other causes of disease. While some of them, are congenital, a lot of them are acquired. And so at this age, if you are listening to me, if you already have some other chronic illnesses, it's fine. Please make sure you listen to your doctor. And if you are at the exposure stage, where, you are involved in a lot of things that you are not supposed to do health-wise, you are not supposed to do. If your doctor asks you to get some rest, please make sure you get some rest. If they ask you to, take any necessary healthcare appropriate prevention, please make sure you do. And it's easier, to even start from checking your vitals, your blood pressure, you monitor your glucose level, you check your weight, you check your cholesterol level. All of these things are very vital, in order to prepare us, to initiate us into the older adult stage. And like I said, there are a lot of people at different parts of the world that age differently. So people in Italy and even different parts of Italy, there are a lot of people that age differently, or the life expectancy in those places are so different. And so now that we've been able to know that age does not equal to diseases, but there are several things that could lead to diseases. And if you're already going through these things, right? If you don't get enough rest, you don't eat well, you don't exercise, and then you age. And when these cells in your body are unable to, repair as it used to be during your youthful days, and then, combined with these bad habits of yours, that you are contributing. I know sometimes it might not be your fault, but let's just say it's your fault, at least for now. It means that it's going to be like much more doubled, and it's going to increase the prevalence of chronic illnesses or diseases in your older when you get much more older. So please, let's take this as a precaution, and then let's understand the differences. And the most important thing is that we would be able to control some of these risk factors, like being able to get time to sleep, rest, and then taking our health much more seriously, so that when we get to the stages where we are literally laughing at our grandparents or older adult friends, we might be able to reduce these processes. We might not be able to prevent it, right? Because this is a natural process that we cannot, at this time, science cannot halt. So, um, let's get together and then make sure that we prepare for that future that would be able to, stay disease free, or at least reduce the burden of diseases during our old at least reduce the burden of diseases when we get much more older. This is the Longevity Caucus. Please make sure you subscribe, hit the notification button to stay updated with everything regarding our content. Please make sure you share, like, comment with any aging topics that you would like us to cover. And then please make sure you also follow us on all social media platforms. I'll see you in the next episode. Peace out. So, back to this, the main thing is that what really is normal aging? And then, so normal aging refers to the natural, gradual changes in the body over time. And so, think about slower metabolism, graying of hair, or reduced muscle mass. These changes are universal and do not necessarily lead to illness. They are universal. Almost everybody would experience this as they age. So, I know people may have different definitions for normal aging, but this is just what I have now for educational purposes. Now, the link to the disease. Here is the twist. Aging, like I mentioned, it's not a disease. Okay, aging is not a disease, but the very processes that drive normal aging, like the cell damage, the accumulated inflammation, you can create fertile ground, for diseases like heart diseases, diabetes, or dementia to take root, right? And this include visuals of damage, so like the damaged cells, the inflammation markers, and disease progression. So, all of these things, pre-exposes us to the diseases in later ages. So the main takeaway here is that the big picture is that aging does not cause disease, but it increases vulnerability to certain conditions. And so by understanding this connection, we can focus on interventions to delay the disease and then promote healthy aging. Thank you.
Get kick.